Hey guys, in this video I'll be showing you the 3 tutorials for the Triumph routines that I did in my last video. All 3 of them are completely impromptu, so the spectator can shuffle the deck and you can even use a borrowed deck. So I'll start off with the first one. So like I said, the spectator can shuffle the deck if they want to. It really doesn't matter. And you need to get a card selected. So let's say that they select the 4 of clubs. Now to start out, what you need to do is control the spectator's selected card to the top of the deck. I'm going to show you my 2 personal favorite methods of doing this. The first one is if you're using a table. It's called the table cut control. So what you do is you get a pinky break under the spectator selection. And what you're going to do is cut about half the cards off the top onto the table, cut the remainder of the cards to the break on the table, and then the rest of the cards drop on top. And what that does is it controls the spectator selection to the top of the deck. That's called the table cut control. I'll put a link on the screen for a more in-depth tutorial of that. Another control is using the double undercut as a control, and this can be done without a table, like if you're doing street magic or something. So again, you need to hold a break on top of the spectator card, but this time it's going to be a thumb break. And what you do is undercut about half of the pack to the top, and then undercut the remainder of the cards to the break to the top. And that controls the spectator's card to the top of the deck. Once their card is on the top of the deck, you can start giving it shuffles as long as you make sure that you keep this card on top, just to reinforce the fact that you're really shuffling up the deck well. And what you're going to do is after you've shuffled it up a couple of times, you're going to take one half of the deck and you flip it over. Always take the bottom half and flip it over. Keep that in mind. So the spectator's card is here. So what you're going to do is I undercut to the right, so the bottom packet is on my right, so I'm going to flip it over. But if you undercut to the left, you're going to flip the left packet over. So it depends on which way you undercut the packet. But I've undercut to the right, so I'm going to take the right packet and flip it over. So half of the cards are face up and half of them are face down. Now what you need to do is called a zero shuffle. And I'm going to give you just a brief tutorial on the zero shuffle. If you're confused about it afterwards, there are plenty of other tutorials on YouTube. You can go search it up. It's ZARROW, the zero shuffle. What's going to happen with the zero shuffle is you're going to start table shuffling the cards, but you want to end with one card with my left thumb like this. So I stopped on one card with my left thumb and dropped it on top. You have to keep that in mind. It's very important. You must always end with the spectator selected card, the face down card, on top. That must be the only card on top. Now what you need to do, I'm going to show this from an exposed view, is in one smooth motion you need to take the top card of the deck, the spectator selected card, and push it over, and while you're doing this, the other 2 halves of the deck, you're going to turn them like this and they're going to pull apart. So what's going to happen is this card, because it'll be pushed over, is going to be covering the crack in the middle, and your hands are going to be like this that are going to cover it up. Make sure you get good cover on this with your hands in the middle and the card like this so you don't get caught. Once the 2 halves are split apart, you're going to take the right half and push it up and over like this. So what it's going to do to the deck is it's going to set the deck up like this, where you have half of the deck face down, half of the deck face up, and the spectator selection. So one more time, I'm going to go through this for you. Start table shuffling the cards. You must always end with one card on top. The spectator selected card must always be the last card that goes down. In one smooth motion, you're going to push this card over, and as you twist these decks to straighten them up, you're going to pull them apart. This is a little exaggerated. They won't be pulled apart so much. Now, after you've pulled them apart, you want to take this packet, push it up and over, so it's going to be like this. This is all going to be undercover. I'm just showing you an exposed view, and that's going to set the deck up like that. And if you're still confused about the zero shuffle, I'll put a link for a tutorial on the screen. So now that the deck is set up like this, you're going to show the spectator that you have cards that are back to face. You're going to show them that you have cards that are face to back, and what you're looking for is this nice little crack in the middle of the cards. And this will naturally appear because the cards have a natural bend to them. You want to get to that break right there. Because what you're going to have now is you're going to have cards that are back to back. And that's what you want. But you don't want to take this pack and put it back on the same way that you took it off. You want to flip it over. But you don't want to make this obvious, so a good way to distract the spectator is to ask them if that was their card. Of course they're going to say no, and then you can just put this packet on top like that, and what it's going to do is set up the deck just like this with the spectator selection as the only face-up card in the entire deck. And that is pretty much it for the first Triumph tutorial. Let's get into the second Triumph routine. For the second Triumph routine, once again, the spectator can start out by shuffling up the deck if they want to, and you can get any card selected. Let's say that they select the 3 of diamonds. You need to control their selection to the second position from the top. I'm going to show you a couple ways of doing this. The first one is the method that I used in the video. What I do is I control their selection to the top of the deck using either the double undercut or the table cut control that I showed you guys a minute ago. Once it's on top, what I'm going to do is go to riffle shuffle the cards. I'll leave their card face up so you can see what's happening. And as I'm riffle shuffling the cards, I'm going to hold back one card with my right thumb. And that's going to be the last card that falls. And what that does is as I square up the cards, I now have their card in the second position. Another way of doing this is once you have their selection and you go to square up the packets, riffle off one card with your thumb. So now you have their card under an indifferent card. Control both of these cards to the top of the deck, and now you have their selection in the second position. Once it's in the second position, you're ready to go. What you do is show them that the top card is not their card, and now you need to do a double lift. The way I do this is I slant the pack and apply pressure with my thumb, and then I feel along the side until I have 2 cards and flip it over. That's called the strike double lift. I have a tutorial on that. I'll put the link on the screen if you're confused. So once you have your double lift, what you're going to do is in one smooth motion, you're going to lift this up and flip the rest of the deck on top of it. And what that does is it reverses their selection on the bottom of the deck. One more time, show them that the top card isn't their selection. Get your double, and then in one smooth motion, lift up the double and flip the rest of the deck on top of it, and that reverses their selection on the bottom of the deck. Once it's on the bottom, you can simply cut it into the middle, and then their selection is now the only face down card in the entire deck. And that is the second Triumph routine. Just as with the previous 2 Triumph routines, you can start off by having a spectator shuffle up the deck if they like, and you can get any card selected. Let's say that they select the 2 of hearts. Again, you want to control their selection to the top using any method that you like. I personally like to use the table cut or the double undercut. Once their selection is on top, you need to do what's called a Browie reversal. And the Browie reversal is exactly like the double undercut. What you're going to do is you're going to get a thumb break under the top card, which is their selection, take about half the cards off the bottom, flip them over, and put them on top, and the spectator selection that you have a break under is going to join with this top packet. So it looks like that. Then the remainder of the cards you just reverse on top, and that's going to take their selected card and reverse it on the bottom of the deck. One more time, get a thumb break under the top card, which is their selection, take about half the cards, flip them up, and put them on top to join with their selection. That now becomes a part of this top packet, and then take the remainder of the cards, reverse them. Now the spectator selection is reversed on the bottom of the deck. I have a tutorial on the Browie reversal. If you're still confused, I'll put the link on the screen. Once their selection is on the bottom, all you have to do now is just cut it into the middle of the deck, and then it appears as the only face-down card. And that is the tutorial for the third and final Triumph routine.